So recently, I went to my local movie theater with a bunch of friends and we watched the new Deadpool 3 movie. And if you were like me, you were probably a bit hesitant going to this movie because of the recent couple years of the MCU, which has been on like a pretty bad decline. Which I'm gonna say this, there's gonna be I'm spoiling a bit of the movie here. I'm gonna try and avoid it a little bit, but I will be naming some things that happen in it. So just heads up on that. But just with the recent like multiverse thing in the movies, which I just have not been able to get into, I haven't enjoyed it. I don't really think I've enjoyed an MCU movie or show since Endgame. To be honest, I can't really think of any there. And there's some of them had a little bit of charm to it, but overall, I didn't really enjoy them. I didn't get into them. And I was a bit fearful for this movie because I like Deadpool. I like Ryan Reynolds as like an actor as Deadpool. I think he's a perfect fit. I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Wolverine, if you don't know, is probably one of my favorite like comic book characters, like superheroes just in general. So I was very fearful. And I'll just say it here, this movie, it was good. It was very good. I enjoyed it. If I was to like rate it off the bat, like compared to the other two movies, I would probably put it as number two because I think the first movie is probably the best one of it. I think it was just the best at executing it, storyline, and then I'd probably put number three at number two. But I also could understand putting two at switching that around with two. But I'm a big Wolverine fan, so there's a bit of bias there. But that's just my opinion. But this movie, I generally liked it. I thought the humor of it was pretty good. Definitely, I think the first and second movie did better at like jokes. Like they had a lot of funnier jokes in it. But I feel like this third movie, it did really good at terms of like different characters they used in it. Cause the downside of it was they kind of didn't use like a lot of the side characters. Like Colossus is not really in this movie at all of it, but the characters that do make cameos in this movie are pretty interesting of it. Like, we had Blade shows up into it, which gets a funny joke of him basically saying that there's not going to be another Blade, and then Deadpool looks at the camera, kind of hinting at that. You had Gambit, which I thought that was pretty cool of it. You had a lot of just cool moments in it. I don't really want to name the antagonist of the movie, but there's technically two. Both of them, it's a very interesting like storyline that they do for it. And it remains throughout the whole movie. Like there's not a lot of turbulence from that. I really love the chemistry between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds in this movie. I think they worked really well together. They matched their comedy with serious moments in the movie that didn't make it seem foreign, which I don't know why, but that has been a big issue for like the MCU recently. Like one of the big examples I can say is like Thor: Love and Thunder, which really failed at balancing that. Like they were two serious and funny moments and two comedic and serious moments, and it just didn't neither turned out well. This movie did very good at that. But definitely the best part of this movie are the action scenes. Like genuinely probably some of the best I've seen in the MCU, like as of recently, which isn't the highest bar to reach, but it's still impressive as there's certain moments when there's so many characters on screen, but it doesn't feel cluttered. Like every time it pans to like a different character doing something in there, it all feels like very well choreographed. Everything's moving seamlessly well of it into the next one of it. This is a bit of a spoiler as well. There's a scene when a bunch of the different like multiverse Deadpools appear, and it's Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds fighting against each of them. And they do like this panning shot from like left to right as they kind of move and they fight each of them. And it does get slightly cluttered at points, but for how many different things are going on at once, that's honestly kind of impressive. There's a scene where they get like funneled into a bus, like all the Deadpools, and it just starts like mowing them down. It's just very good of it. I don't know, like, and just obviously it's action, like start to finish. Like in the first 5 minutes of the movie, there's an action scene of it with freaking Backstreet Boys in the background. It's hilarious. It's just good overall of it. I'm not the biggest like movie buff for that, and as someone who used to be a big like Marvel fan, MCU fan, it was kind of nice to not have to be like sad or disappointed in a movie, which has been what like MCU has been recently, to the point where like I'm not even really watching that many MCU movies anymore. Like, I can't really think of what the last one I watched was, but it's just been on like a downward slope. So see this like turn out good was very good, and I probably should have expected it to be at least good or decent because like you have Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, who is like the perfect fit for it. You have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, great. The trailers for this movie looked great. The shots were good. It's just very interesting thing of it, and I'm glad that they didn't like convolute the story more with like the multiverse thing. They even like Deadpool even like makes fun of it in the movie, basically saying like it's getting too much. You stop it. And another Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, called like Nice Pool, I believe. He basically says like he actually likes how the multiverse has been going at post like Endgame, and they all basically just tell him to shut up in the equivalent, and it's very funny. Like the jokes, because they do make some pretty good jokes against Disney, which is something I'm always a fan of. But overall, I'd say this movie was really good. I don't really want to say any more because I don't really want to spoil it more than the kind of small things I've said already. Because I don't really want to say the plot. I don't want to say, like, if anyone dies, what happens, interactions, more than I already have. But that's going to be it, really. I just wanted to share my thoughts that this was a pretty good movie. But that's going to be it.